Okay, so continuing on with my Spanish classes, I think I've had maybe about four classes so far. And in this particular class, things were just a little bit different. So, this particular teacher, we started off with finishing off one of the lessons that I had completed before, which was articles. But then we finished it and we had like 15 minutes or 10 or 15 minutes left. And then she was like, did you want to continue on with the lesson or did you want to just have a conversation? Now, before I get into what my answer was, I noticed that a lot of the teachers asked that question. They're like, do you want to do the lesson or do you want to have a conversation? Now, I don't think that any of them have a problem either way. I think they just sort of want to ask you what your preference is. But I think that from now on, I might switch to maybe just having like 10 minutes of the lesson. And then the other 15 minutes, I really want to spend trying to have a conversation. Now, I chose to have a conversation with her, and it was brutal, for lack of a better word. It was really, really rough. So basically, my conversation skills are a mix of English and Spanish. I used these Spanish words whenever I knew them, but I really had to fill a lot of the gaps with English words. But the thing that I will say that was different and better is I started to think about the language differently, and I was starting to think of how can I get my point across with the vocabulary I know. And it actually kind of worked out okay. I didn't really have a lot of time because it was something that we did within the last 10 minutes. And before I knew it, it was like, oh crap, we've got to finish up. But it made me think that, you know what, I think this is what I want to do in terms of the way that I want to proceed. So I do want to spend a few minutes on the lesson part of it, but a lot of those rules in Spanish and things like that, I pretty much know a lot of those things. Right now, it's just about getting to conversational Spanish, and that's really my goal. So, yes, I want to be fluent and everything, but really and truly, the thing that I want the most is I want to be conversational. I want to be able to have those conversations. Like, I want to be able to say the things that I'm saying right now in Spanish and not have to think about it. Like, I'm still translating in my head, which is a really hard habit to break. So, I'm still thinking of the English sentence and then I'm trying to replace each English word with the Spanish equivalent. But it doesn't work that way. Like I have to really think about what is the idea that I'm trying to bring across and then how can I vocalize that in Spanish. So it's basically the same thing that I tell my students when I'm teaching them English or when I'm tutoring in English. My tutored students, not my teaching students because they're different. They work on a curriculum. But my tutoring students, it's a lot of them say to me, well, how can I improve my English? And my answer is always, well, it just takes practice. How can I improve my Spanish? Well, surprise, surprise, it's the same answer. It just takes practice. So I think that from now on, the future classes that I take, I really want to focus on let's have a conversation or let's try to have a conversation. Let me try to put those Spanish words in there and see how they fit into a sentence. And I really think that will make things better because I have to be honest, at this particular juncture, I still feel like I'm taking just any other Spanish class where we're focusing on grammar and rules and all this kind of stuff. And I really don't want to do that because it's not really getting me anywhere in terms of getting me further in the conversation. One other thing that's a little bit of a problem right now, that's not a big problem, but it will sort of slow down my progress, is my 1 week so the first week of this program you can get you pay $1 and you have all the access 100% unlimited. You can go as many hours as you want with no limitations. They'll never say to you that you're abusing the system, which is awesome. Connor, way to go on that. But the other problem that's a little bit of a problem is the availability of the teacher. So it would seem that it's probably in your best interest if you want a specific teacher to try to book them as early as possible so you can make sure that you get them. If not, then when you do go to start booking your classes, especially if you're doing like today for tomorrow or today for today, you will find that the choices are pretty limited. So I will say that it looks as though it's probably in your best interest, if you want specific teachers or if you want certain times, that you should probably try to get those booked as quickly as you can or as early as you can. So I'm coming up to my week ending, and I really, 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 really wish that I can take the $129 option of Unlimited, but I can't. I can't justify that expense. So I'm gonna have to take the $9 option and buy additional packs whenever I can afford it. But I am determined. I am determined. I have to get to that conversational Spanish. Oh, I got to get to that point where I can just speak it. And I don't have to think. You ask me a question, I give you an answer. Just like when you ask me, ¿Cómo estás? I'm like, bien, gracias. I got it. I don't even have to think about it. I want the rest of Spanish to be like that for me. So I can see how it would happen through this method. It's just about getting there. So still in the early stages, only 4 classes in. I've got a bunch of classes lined up in the next few days, just because I really want to sort of fast track into that space at this particular junction when I have the availability to sort of like book all these extra times, which is actually not even that available because I've got like 500 other things going on in my life, including rehearsals for my show. So at this point in time, that's what I'm looking at, and I'm really excited. So I think I've just got like 3 more days of the Unlimited, and I've already booked quite a few lessons between now and then with the time that I have available for myself and the time that they've made available for the classes that I can do. And yeah, so I'm hoping by next month or so that I should be a little bit more conversational. And I think if I do focus more on let's do a little bit of lesson, but let's really try to focus on conversation, I think that's the thing that's going to tip it for me. So we'll see what happens.